In the last lectures, we started implementing the burger, but it's not really that dynamic. Let's take a first important step by handling the burger ingredients in the state of our burger builder, because this is where we will ultimately edit them to. That also is the reason why this is a stateful component. Now we're adding state. I'm going to add state like this, simply initialize it as a property. But as I showed you in the last course module, you could also add the constructor where you receive the props, call super with the props, never forget this, and then initialize this state, this because you're inside a method, like this. This would also work. This is an alternative. I'll comment it out because I'll use this a bit more modern because it's shorter syntax, but this constructor syntax will work absolutely fine too. Now what should be inside the state? I want to have an ingredients object in there where I have key value pairs where the keys are the names of the ingredients and the values is the amount. So there I will have a salad ingredient, maybe 1. I will have a bacon ingredient, maybe also 1. I will have a cheese ingredient, maybe 2. And a meat ingredient, maybe also 2. So really build a big burger. We will later also add more state, like the price. But for now, let's go with the burger fundamentals. Now we get our ingredients. Of course, the goal now is to pass this array now to our burger. So somehow we want to give our burger component the ingredients. So on an ingredients property, we want to pass this state ingredients. That's the idea. The thing is, the burger doesn't receive any ingredients yet. So let's copy that over to the burger component and let's start accepting it and let's start outputting the ingredients dynamically. Now in the burger component, keep in mind we're receiving ingredients as props, but if we inspect ingredients in the state of the burger builder, you have to keep in mind it's an object. It's not an array. So we can't use map on that. We can't just loop through that. It's an object. Instead, we have to transform this object into an array. And to be precise, we have to convert this object into an array of the values of the ingredients. Now, thankfully, this is not that difficult. In the burger function here, in the burger component, I will create a new constant which I'll name ingredients, or maybe to make it clear that it's not the incoming form, I'll name it transformed ingredients. And there I will use the object. That's a default JavaScript object, not provided by React or anything like that. It has a keys method which extracts the keys of a given object and turns that into an array. So it gives you an array of the keys. So for our object, it would give us an array which contains a string salad, a string bacon, a string cheese, and a string meat. The values 1, 1, 2, 2 are not part of the array. So there I will pass props ingredients. Now we got that array of strings, of keys in the end. Now I will chain a method to this, and I will do it in a new line to make it easier to read. This still belongs to the object keys call here. The map method, which we can of course execute since again keys returns us an array. Now I mentioned that the elements in the array are simply our properties, salad and so on. So you know that map executes a function on each element in the input array. So I'll give this argument we receive in the function the name ig key for ingredient key, because that's just what's part of the array, salad and so on. Now in that function here, I want to transform this string value into an array with as many elements as we have ingredients for a given ingredient. So if we have 2 cheese ingredients, then I want to transform the cheese string into an array which simply contains 2 elements. I don't care about which elements, if these are 2 A's, 2 1's, 2 whatever, but it should have a length of 2. So I will return an array here, and I will actually use the spread operator to spread a new array I have to construct, and I will construct it with the array method here provided by JavaScript again. That's not a React method or not a React object, it's default JavaScript object. You might not know it because you don't use it that often, but you can create an array with it. For example, array free will give you an array with free empty spaces, basically, with free undefined spaces. Now, the length is of course not free. The length should be the amount of the given ingredient. So here, props ingredients, and then I will access the given key I have here, because keep in mind, we're still in that function of our map method, which runs on an array which contains all our keys. So what we have at this point of time is simply an array with 2 elements. The values don't matter to us right now. I will now execute map on that array. Keep in mind, we're still inside the outer map method, but there I also return an array where I now want to map the elements. I don't care about the element itself, so that is why I will use an underscore as an argument name to indicate that it's a blank, but the index of that element is important to me. So now here inside that map method, I will return my burger ingredient because I need to return an array of JSX in the end, where I will set the key. Keep in mind, we need to assign a key because it's an array we return, an array of JSX elements, to ig key plus I. Now ig key is something like salad, and I simply is 1, 2, 3, and so on. So this creates a unique key for each ingredient. And the type simply is ig key. This is why I don't care about the first argument here. I don't care what this array object populates this array with. It's just the length of that array that matters for me, because I need an array of length 2 for cheese in this case. For bacon it would be of length 1, so that I can create an appropriate amount of burger ingredient components. And I then only am interested in the type, which I got right from the start, since I extract all the types, all the property names of my ingredients state here. That of course also implies that the keys you use here in the burger builder state have to equal the keys you check for in burger ingredient, meat, cheese, and bacon. They have to have the same casing and the same name. That is super important because I'm using that to create the right ingredient here in the end. So this is what I return in the end in this internal map method, and therefore I map my object into an array of ingredients in the end. Might look super complex. Feel free to throw in some console logs in between to see what you currently got, or to walk through that with the debugger. But in the end, it's just a way to transform an object of key value pairs into an array of burger ingredients, where the value of that object is important for me to decide how many ingredients I need, and the key is important for which type of ingredient I need. So now I got my transformed ingredients, and now it's time to return them. I will always have bread top and bread bottom, but in between I'll now output curly braces transformed ingredients. And with that, let's see if that works. Make sure all files are saved, and you should now have a burger with 2 meat pieces, 2 cheese, 1 bacon, and 1 salad. If you got any error here, make sure this transformation code is working as it should. And with that, we made our first important step towards a truly dynamic burger. It's not dynamic yet, but at least we have a generic web method of outputting ingredients. Next, we can work on allowing the user to add and remove ingredients.